Greetings, people of the internet. It's Friday. You know what that means. It's time for another Fan Art Friday. So, who's excited for Star Wars Rogue One? I know I am. So excited, in fact, that I just had to do this one. K2SO from the new Star Wars Rogue One. Let's see how it comes together. Let's get to it. Hey everyone, happy Friday, happy Fan Art Friday. So, if you've been following for the last 4 weeks, I think, 4 or 5 weeks, I've been doing Stranger Things fan art. And of course, you know, I could keep going with Stranger Things. There's so many great characters. I figured I'd just keep it to the kids, the main core group of kids. And maybe I'll return to that because I do love that show. But I didn't want the channel to become, just Stranger Things. And I know there were some other requests for other Stranger Things characters. And like I said, maybe I'll be able to get back to that soon. But I thought I'd switch gears a little bit. I'm really looking forward to Rogue One. The trailer just, wow, it looks amazing. And it's just kind of weird the way Disney's doing these kind of one-off movies, where this basically Rogue One, if you're not familiar, which I'm sure if you're watching this you probably are, is the story of how the rebels acquired the Death Star plans, and which ultimately led to the destruction of the first Death Star. So that just seems like a really cool story that you'd want to know, you want to see how it plays out and everything. And there's always, I guess there's some criticisms when they do these things that they because some things are kind of left great if they're left up to your imagination. I don't know, this one seems like something that I really want to see how it plays out. I wasn't like, for instance, in the prequels where they kind of gave Boba Fett this kind of backstory, and I know they've been talking about, I haven't heard anything recently, but at one point they were talking about doing a Boba Fett standalone story. And I think the thing that, to me anyway, the thing that made Boba Fett so cool was that he was so mysterious. So when you start filling in the blanks and you kind of give him that backstory, and that he's, where the clones were cloned from and all that stuff, I don't know, it just took away from the mystery of Boba Fett. So there's certain things like that I don't want him to get too much into, but quite frankly, like I guess I really never considered, how those Death Star plans were acquired until they, mentioned, they were doing this movie and everything, and I'm like, oh man, that sounds pretty cool. And just the imagery and everything from the trailer looks awesome. I guess there's some concerns that they were doing, some of these extensive reshoots and things like that. And typically, when a production has things like that, it means there's problems. But I don't know. I mean, of course, trailers are made to make stuff look great, and other movies which have come out recently have suffered those, the same things from the reshoots, and just in a lot of people's opinions were sort of botched. But I don't know. Everything I'm seeing from this, I'm digging. So it just really looks cool. Again, and just the imagery and the basically the shadow of the Death Star going to the planets, and oh man, there's just some really cool stuff if you haven't seen the trailer. It's really cool, and a bunch of new characters. It looks like, I know there's going to be there's a Magnificent 7 remake that's coming out, and to me this almost looks like Star Wars version of that. It's like getting all these different people together to perform this impossible task and everything, and it looks like the team of people that they're getting really, some of these new characters are pretty impressive, especially, well, I don't want to say especially, because they all really look cool, and I'm interested in seeing more about them. And I'm almost glad, again, that they didn't bring in too many other characters, at least that I know of. There's minor ones that I think are going to pop up. Obviously, Darth Vader pops up, but he's a core throughout the whole, that's the main thing. You kind of, if he's there, you kind of at least have to get a glimpse of him. I don't care if they do much with Vader, just other than he's there because he has to be there. But I'm glad they didn't try to shoehorn some of those other characters and stuff in there, because it's nice to see some of these new characters and learn more about them. But so this character, K2SO, I was going to say protocol droid. I don't know what category something as a protocol droid, but he was. I guess he was like an Imperial enforcer droid. So I don't know if this is like the, if this is the natural progression from like the battle droids in the prequels, which those were just ridiculous and even more ineffective than the stormtroopers. But maybe as they upgrade, maybe this is kind of the natural progression of that. But anyway, so he's been like reprogrammed by the rebels and everything. But he's kind of got that. It's sort of that C3PO vibe where he's quoting all these different statistics and odds and things like that. But also he says something about I won't kill you because my master says you're cool and everything like that. So obviously a lot different than C3PO, but some of those same, because he is a droid, So and the thing is like giant, man. It's like, I think it's like 8 or 9 feet tall. This huge droid. So he looks like he's going to be pretty badass. So I'm looking to see more of him. But that's why I wanted to do the sketch here. So, but yeah. So anyway, back to the sketch. So I basically penciled everything out with my Pentel Color Race. Or is it Pentel or every single time I get Pentel and Pantone mixed up. Anyway, Color Race. Maybe it's Pantone. Pantone Color Race markers or pencils, color pencils. Just the red. It's like a cadmium red that I use for this one. And then I'm using my Sakura brush pen. I believe it's number 7. That's what I've been using for the past few sketches, and now I'm getting into coloring. I'm using a lot of times I use Copic markers. I didn't with this. This is the Pantone Tria markers. I'm also using some Spectrum Noir markers, and I just grabbed because I actually filmed this whole thing mobily. That's why kind of the lighting might be a little off. But I still wanted to get a nice drawing in and everything. So little unpredictable with the lighting. But I just grabbed pretty much, and that's one of the reasons why I picked this particular one, because I just grabbed a bunch of gray markers. I've said, well, I'll otherwise I have to go through all my different colors and all that, and that gets to be a problem. But anyway, so using I basically start from light to dark. So I start with my lightest gray, and then I gradually add more until you get almost like a black, because he is very dark. It's almost, and maybe I grabbed the wrong markers. I don't know, because it looks like he's got a little bit of a cooler tint to him, almost like a bluish metal. So not as blue as I was going to compare it to. If any of you guys remember the medical droid from Empire Strikes Back 2-1B. He was sort of this metallic blue. This is definitely a lot darker. And it could just be the lighting, like some of the references and stuff that I'm looking at. The lighting makes it look a little blue. Maybe, but he could be, these are more, they're not warm grays, but they're not quite cool blues. But anyway, and me, I love drawing robots, so this is a fun one to do. I like all the little wiring and things like that. But he also, one thing I noticed with this droid, he's very, like I said, tall and slender. He's kind of real long arms and everything. But it looks like, unlike a lot of the other droids, it looks like he can kind of like run and pick up speed and things like that, which is pretty cool, something that we haven't seen with other droids. And pretty sure that there's no one I'm pretty sure this guy, I'm guessing he's CGI, at least most of them, because they're just, I don't know that there'd be a way. Well, I guess with special effects they can green screen things out, but I don't see there being anyone inside this costume. I guess I would have to look more into how they did that, but man, just some awesome concepts, and it's cool how they're able to kind of find that time frame, because that's one of the things with the prequels. And I guess the weird thing is this movie Rogue One is technically a prequel because it takes place before Star Wars, so we might get one good prequel if we're lucky. And sorry if any of you guys are big fans of the prequels or anything, but it looked way too flashy and stuff, and it looked like here you've got this flashy new thing, and then you get into the originals, and then and of course it has a lot to do with the time it was made, but they really do a good job of capturing. It's like matching that look of like the the 70s Star Wars, because this takes place pretty much right before that. So you get to see some familiar stuff, and it's kind of cool to see those AT-ATs coming in, because of course you would imagine that AT-ATs were around, even though we didn't see them in Empire Strikes Back, but they had to be, they just we didn't see them, but they were kind of always around. So it's kind of cool to see those AT-ATs in a different environment other than the Hoth, like the snow ice planet and everything. See them coming off the beach, and it looks like they're a little different model of AT-AT walkers. And of course we got to see I guess they did show like just one shot of an AT-AT walker on Indoor, but then there were the scout walkers and stuff like that. But again, I just bringing in all this cool stuff I love. I'm just like super excited. But so back to the drawing. So got most of it, all the colors dropped in and everything, and now I'm using my Sino gel pen to kind of pop out some little highlights and things like that, and then kind of go around the whole sketch and pop them out from that yellow background. And I just kind of went with the yellow because he's got just a tiny little hint of yellow on his like this metal chassis around his shoulders, which I thought was kind of cool. So I just tied it all in with that. But this is pretty cool. I really dig this kind of robot design. At first, when I first saw him, it's like he's pretty kind of basic. But then again, like I was saying, you don't want anything real elaborate because of the time period that this thing takes place in. But anyway, so wrapping this guy up. What do you guys want to see? Are there any other characters from Rogue One that you might want to see, or other characters that I could do in future Fan Art Friday videos? Go ahead and just leave your suggestions in the comment section of the YouTube channel. I try to get back to people, and I do want to hear kind of who you think is going to be your favorite character from the new Rogue One, and maybe next week I can tackle one of those. But anyway, thanks for liking, thanks for subscribing, following, all that cool stuff, and really looking forward to doing more of these. So thanks, I'll see you guys later, and that is all. Oh,